I'm Spencer.
And I'm Matt.
And this is a Sidekick podcast on The Mandalorian, episode number 2. All right, Matt. We're talking the second episode of The Mandalorian. What did you think of this episode?
Fantastic.
Ooh, right off the bat. Yes.
Just right off the bat. I'm ready to give my letter grade. No, I'll wait. I'll hold everyone in suspense until the end. This it's great. It's just great. I love this show already. I'm happy because it went in the direction. So at the end of episode 1, we're left on not a cliffhanger, just wow, cool, right? What a shock. Where's this going to go now? And we get kind of the answer of where the show is going to go, right? This show is about going to, I guess I don't know, but this show is largely, to me, going to be about the relationship the Mandalorian and this child create and what it means. It's awesome. So it's titled The Child. This is chapter 2, titled The Child. And we get it starting out pretty much immediately where we left off, where the little baby Yoda's in the little egg thing, and it's following the Mandalorian around. So cute.
So let's back this up. Let's make the start of this the Rocky 2 of Sidekick podcast, right? Where we're gonna begin right where the last one ends off, right? So the very end of episode 1, we see the Mandalorian shoot the IG bounty droid, IG-11.
Yup.
Instead of splitting the fare and letting him kill the baby. Do you think he killed the bounty droid, the IG-11, because he just wanted to keep the baby alive? Do you think it's because he wants the bounty all to himself? Do you think it's because he wants more money? Because obviously it's valued higher if it's alive than if it's dead.
Right.
Or do you think he's going to be protecting this thing and not turning it in for the bounty?
Well, I think I spoiled it in what I think the show is going to be about is the relationship he forms with this child. So to me, it's clear that he's not doing this for the money. I think he's doing this out of the goodness of what is in his heart. That's why I think he killed the droid.
I think you're right. That's where I think it's going to. However, it's just I don't know how I want to put this. It's just enough of it could be one of these other things.
Right.
It's just, I don't know. There's something that says like they could be using this as the red herring to make us feel one thing and then pull a hard left and then basically say like, he's a bounty hunter. Like, what did you expect?
Right.
He's about credits and about his clan. Like, what does he have a loyalty? Maybe he's bonding with this thing, but that's all just so he can make sure he gets it back alive. Right. I don't know. I don't think it's going to go that way. I really kind of hope it doesn't.
Right.
However, that would not surprise me either.
No, I agree. And what we know about Mandalorians is their loyalty. And what this client is offering to pay him is very important to the Mandalorian clan.
Very
important.
He
has an opportunity to provide for the clan. And so I do think there will be a moment here in the next few episodes somewhere where he is going to have a moment of self-reflection where he has to choose between the money and the clan and this child. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to be a very pointed moment. I mean, I could be wrong, but at the end of the episode, I mean, we're talking about 7 episodes, there's no spoilers here. At the end of this, so he takes off in the ship, right? Assuming to go collect his bounty. At least that's what Nick Nolte's character says, right? Hey, enjoy your money. See ya.
Yeah.
And so he very well, I mean, if the next episode he shows up on whatever planet they were on, we know nothing about any of these planets so far. We don't know their names or where they're located other than this is kind of on the outer rim. he very well could show up at the doorstep, and I don't know. We'll have to see, but it's yeah. I think we all know where that's gonna go, but we don't know what it means. You know what I mean? We don't know the significance of this Baby Yoda yet. There's part of me that says, okay, when I think about the timeline and how this baby ages,
right,
it lines up well with the sequels. And I'm not trying to say that this Baby Yoda is gonna pop up in The Rise of Skywalker next month.
Right.
But what I'm saying is this Baby Yoda could pop up in The Rise of Skywalker next month if they wanted to. I don't think they will.
No, I don't think they
I
will.
think it's still too new. This thought of having shows playing into movies and the importance, especially a figure like this.
Here's the other thing too. Like, look at it this way: if this show's going to run 8 episodes, right? It started basically 12 days into November.
Yeah.
So this is going to finish probably right around the end of the year.
Yes.
But that'll be after
That's
Rise
true.
of Skywalker.
That's true.
So if it does show up in Rise of Skywalker, doesn't that potentially spoil parts of the show or the story of the show?
Very true. It could.
We don't know.
I do find it interesting when I look at the release schedule, though, that they're not releasing an episode the day that Rise of Skywalker comes out. So there is some forethought. Of course, it makes sense from a release schedule, right. But also, I mean, it could make sense from, I don't know. I mean, movies get released all the time. Shows get released all the time. If you're not going to see Rise of Skywalker, just watch Mandalorian.
But
I don't know.
This is the Star Wars world. They're going to say, like, hey, we want every Star Wars fan to go to the theater because we're going to make more money this month on ticket sales than we will Disney Plus subscriptions.
Sure. I agree with that. I'm just going to play devil's advocate and go back to this podcast and say I told you so when something happens. I just want to cover my bases.
Okay, fair enough.
But so the beginning of this episode harkens back to the beginning of the first episode. There's no dialogue for the first 10 minutes. Yeah. No one talks. And I'm sitting there just enthralled with what's happening on screen. And then I look over to my wife and I'm like, no one said anything yet. And my heart is racing and I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the visual cues. And I'm so blown away with this show, how into it I am.
So something I thought was really interesting is we know this is a Western. Essentially, it's a Western in space in the Star Wars universe, right?
Yep.
But what is a classic Western theme? The lone gunfighter that ends up having to, like, take care of, like, a kid or something that he doesn't want to take care of.
Yeah.
That he gets saddled with, but then, like, he has to continue to protect it and he's going to form a bond with it. That story, that narrative is super, super Western, like, through and through.
Yes.
And, like, that's what we see, right? Like, you get this, like,
totally.
These cute little moments where, like, this little baby Yoda, like, he's, the Mandalorian's, like, trying to heal a cut right on his arm. And he's, using this little, for a better term, like... Cauterizer, like, welding tool, basically.
Yeah.
And the baby Yoda, like, gets out of his, like, little, mobile cradle and is coming over, like, to him and trying to reach out and touch it. And, and he has to, like, get up and take it and go put it back in. Like,
yep.
I saw that and as, like, a father, I was like, oh, yeah. I totally know what that was like when my kid started crawling. And I was like, no, just go back over here. There. You're supposed to be laying down. Stay there. Like, you pick him up, you put him over there. Pick him up, put him over. Eventually, like, okay, can we put it in, like, a playpen so it can't get out, right?
Yes. Right.
I love that. Like, it was just, it's not like overt, like, ha-ha, slap your knee humor.
No.
But it's like, this is parenting kind of, like, this is a real scenario. And, like,
right.
It's just funny because it's just annoying enough. You're like, ugh, stop. Like, I'm just trying to get this done.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, this is a time in the galaxy. We don't know how familiar this Mandalorian is with the Jedi and the Force. Right. And who knows what he thought was going on with this little Yoda walking at him with his hand out. Also, can I just say, after watching all of the films many times in my life, that was the cutest moment I think I've ever seen on screen. I was audibly going, oh my gosh, it's so cute. He's going to heal him.
Yep.
It was like the most adorable thing ever. The way they've animated this puppet, oh my gosh, it looks perfect.
Yeah, it's adorable.
So cute. So cute.
It's totes adorbs.
Totes adorbs, man. But I agree. That was both a funny but also tender and cute moment that they have after this battle, right, where he's fought off 3 other bounty hunters who are trying to get the bounty too, and who knows if we will continue to see bounty hunters crop up that are continuing to try and chase them.
Yeah.
I think that will be, when I saw that scene, I thought, oh, this is going to be part of the show too. Every episode he's going to have to fight another bounty hunter to keep this bounty to himself. Whatever he's going to do with the bounty, I don't know.
Which makes sense.
Which makes perfect sense. They're going to have a hard time finding him now, though, with the information given, because they're going to go to that planet and they're not going to be there. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how they get through that. But that moment after that battle, when it's dark and lonely and they still haven't said any words, and that little cute Yoda gets out and tries to heal him, is interesting. Instinctually, Yoda wants to help this little baby Yoda thing. We don't have anything to say. We can't call it anything else. That drives me nuts.
I know.
So this little baby Yoda wants to help.
Right.
In whatever way he can. He feels some form of protection because I think he feels a bond as well. The Mandalorian clearly feels a bond. Yeah. You know, at the end of the first episode, just sticking his finger out, right? Like you're waiting for a baby to grab your finger when you're holding a newborn or an infant.
Right.
And Yoda respects that bond and feels that bond and has seen him try and protect him or her. It was great. Such a great scene.
There was something in this episode that like literally made me laugh and was super excited all at the same time. The return of the freaking Jawas.
Oh my gosh.
I love that because we only really see the Jawas we see them in A New Hope in episode 4.
Yes.
Obviously, right? Because they pick up R2 and C-3PO and they sell them, to Uncle Ben and to Luke. And then we do see a sandcrawler real briefly in Return of the Jedi, but that's basically about it.
Yep.
But in this, we got the Jawas, right? So you get the Mandalorian gets back with the little baby Yoda, and his ship is just being torn apart. And boom, he starts shooting and he disintegrates a couple Jawas.
So awesome.
And I was like, yes, get those guys. Those guys are so annoying. But then what happens is it becomes this race, right? Where he's trying to chase after the sandcrawler. And
yes.
I always thought I always had the impression that those sandcrawlers move pretty slow.
Right.
But then all of a sudden, it's going, and it's going pretty quick.
It's going about as fast as he can run.
Right.
Because he's able to catch up to it. So it's going pretty fast. Not crazy slow. I wonder if they've got a second gear in there when they're being chased by a Mandalorian. Right. Ludicrous speed. Let's go.
Boom. But what I did like, though, was that there were some nods here. There was nods to Indiana Jones, where he's on it and they try to ram him into the wall.
Yep.
Which, of course, George Lucas had worked with Steven Spielberg on Indiana Jones. And so, that's kind of a nod there. There was, this, honestly, you could have, put the Benny Hill soundtrack over it. Because they're, throwing junk and scraps at him and trying to knock him off. And he's, trying to grab Jawas and they're slamming things on his hands and he's pulling back.
Yep.
It literally, I'm watching this going, okay, he looks like he's literally trying to break into a mobile fort on wheels. If he does do this, that's pretty awesome, but at the same time, it's gonna feel a little unrealistic.
Okay.
That's the kind I was I'm okay, if this is Luke Skywalker and he's got a lightsaber and the Force,
maybe,
sure. Yeah. This is just a blaster.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Mandalorian and he's just in a blaster. Don't make him too powerful. And of course, he finally scales, he finally gets to the top, and you're yes! And then he's faced down by maybe 15 Jawas, all with stunners that all shoot him at the same time.
Yep.
and he falls off and hits and then like wakes up like probably a couple hours later. Loved the whole thing.
I am 100% with you on, and you pointed out the thing that I wanted to point out as well, is it felt a very, very grounded in the fact that there's no way he could actually do that. Regardless of what he's thinking, we would all probably do the same thing in that situation. Run after it. I mean, what are they going to do? They're not going to kill me. They're these little tiny mischievous jerks.
It's like a dog that runs after a car barking.
Yeah.
Like, you may catch up to the car, but what are you really going to do?
Yeah. And it felt that way. Like, them continue to throw things at him and then be successful. I was like, okay, that's real. Like, if I was a Mandalorian, I was getting crap thrown at me and then stunned. And there's just something you can't overcome. My first thought, though, when he got on it was, where's Baby Yoda?
Oh, yeah.
And then they cut, like right after I said that, they cut to the scene of the little pod following. I was like, okay, whew, thank goodness. But I thought that scene was fantastic. It was, and this is stuff that we don't get to see in a movie, because in a movie it would be called filler. Yeah. In a TV show, it's dramatic. It's character growth. It was awesome.
I loved it. I loved every part of it. And I love the fact that, like, when that was over and he comes back to, like, reality is, like, he's got to walk back to his ship. And what's he going to do there? Which is, like, what they show. Like, he goes back there and he can't do anything. And so then he's got to walk back and find, like, Kuwil's little, homestead.
Yep.
And, like, ask for help because he can't get off planet.
Yep.
Like, that is real. Like, that is super, like you said, grounded.
Yep.
Like, it makes total sense. And, of course, Kuwil, like, volunteers to help him and take him back. And I love the fact they get there and he's like, these guys really don't like you. He was like, yeah, I vaporized a few of them a day ago or something.
Yes.
Oh, so good.
It felt, it was kind of, I remember watching the first time I watched this with Jesse, and I was like, well, this is the one where, I don't know, you don't like Friends, but in Friends, it's like the one where, and they tell you what happens in the episode. It kind of felt like that. Oh, this is the one where the Jawa will steal all those crap. How awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So like each episode, you're like, oh yeah, this is the one where, but this next scene was brilliant again. For this episode continues to knock it out of the park for me, but this next scene with them negotiating with Jawas and him having to leave his weapons and talking about weapons are my religion, man.
Right.
Like, hey, well, if you want your crap back, you gotta give it up.
So, like, you could see that they wanted to get, like, the little trade, like, the Baby Yoda, and he's like, no, like, that's a non-starter, not my weapons.
Yep.
And so when they started chanting egg,
that was so funny.
I was like, what are they, like, do they want, like, the egg that the Baby Yoda thing's in? Is that what they're calling the egg?
Yeah.
And I was like, he just said no. And then, of course, you find out, like, they want this egg of some, like, beast that's in this hole in the ground. I'm thinking it's going to be for some, like, I don't know, reasons, like they want to hatch their own beast and train it and whatever. And so the Mandalorian goes in there and, like, he gets the crap just, like, kicked out of him because he doesn't have any weapons. Yeah. He's like, I don't know, like the hairy, muddy version of a rhinoceros.
Yep.
I mean, I think they even gave it like a name. It was called like a mudhorn or something like that. I think I saw that.
It was weird looking, and it absolutely demolished him and would have killed him no problem.
And almost does.
Yes. So back to the egg thing. I just watched half of it before this podcast, the first half of this episode, and it got me right up until he goes into the hole where this creature is. And it is so incredibly funny, the way that they chant about the egg and how he's like cramped into this sand crawler, which now you realize it's not meant for anybody taller than a Jawa. He's banging his head.
Oh, gosh, so good.
And he like looks up at him, the Jawa, and says whatever the egg thing is, and then he just looks back. It's the comedic timing of it is awesome, and the use during the negotiations when they make fun of his accent when he tries to speak Jawa back to them, and he's like, "Oh, you sound like a Wookiee. What an idiot!" And then he pulls out the fire from his wrist. He goes, "Yeah, how do you like this?" I was like, "This is so funny,
so good."
Oh, it was awesome. But anyway, that was just some some good funny character development, story, hilarious. It was great, but the battle scene was intense, man. You know that Baby Yoda's going to get involved if you've seen Star Wars before, right? You know what he's trying to do. It's just a matter of, how is he going to use the Force? When is he going to use the Force? What's it? It will be. Anyway, I'm stumbling over my words because I don't have the right words, I guess.
Well, I think what's interesting is like we kind of had a feeling like it was going to come to something like this, but in that moment when the Baby Yoda, for lack of a better term, uses kind of like a Force stasis hold on that mudhorn thing, like, and then allows the Mandalorian to stab it with his knife, like that was the moment I kind of went, "Yep. This is exactly what this show's about, that this little creature has the ability to wield the Force. This is 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So realistically, we only have at this point, Luke is out there somewhere and Leia's out there.
Yeah.
That's really it. And so now we have this other little creature that's that has the Force and that's doing stuff with it. Yes
Instinctually, right? I mean, I don't think this Baby Yoda has been taught to use the Force, unlike the humans and the other species that use the Force. There's a master and an apprentice, and they have to be trained and taught, and they gotta. This Baby Yoda just instinctually knows that it wants to heal him at the beginning of this episode, and then instinctually wants to protect him using the Force at the end of the episode. And really, again, so cute the way that the Baby Yoda is concentrating and then faints back after using the Force, much like we've seen Force users in the past when they exert a significant amount of their energy into the Force, they lose consciousness.
Right.
And especially for a creature so small. But he didn't use it until the very end, right? Until like the Mandalorian was facing down death. There was no chance of survival. The armor was basically gone and it was coming at him with its horn. Right. Yeah. Like this is game over.
Yeah. It's the kill shot.
There's nothing. Right. And the Mandalorian, though, to his credit, was dramatic, like in a movie. Like, okay, I'm gonna like Captain America in Endgame, right? I'm gonna get up one last time and strap on my shield. This is before everybody shows up, and I know I'm gonna lose, but I gotta fight. And the Mandalorian does the same thing. He could have run, but he stood and he fought, and I was like, dang, this is so bad, this is awesome. And then we get Yoda, Baby Yoda.
Let me ask you this. With the egg, did you think that they were going to do anything other than what they actually did?
Yes, of course. I didn't know what they were going to do, but that's not what I thought they were going to do.
And then they sliced it open.
Right there.
And then they start eating it like they're freaking Veruca Salt in Willy Wonka, like just, like
hands
candy, hands in, scooping. I was like,
oh.
I wasn't disgusted, but I was like, all that for just that? Like, I thought it was going to be some, like, real... No, they just were hungry. Yep. They just wanted, like, this delicacy. I was like, you got to be kidding me. That is so freaking... Like, I laughed just because my expectations were like, this is going to be something, and they're going to raise it. No. Ooh.
Yeah. Nope.
Oh, man.
Not at all.
That was good. Now, but then the funny thing is, I'm glad they didn't do what I kind of wish they would have. When he goes back to Kuil and he finally gets all his stuff, and which is really kind of comedic, right? Because he looks like the Clampets with all their stuff like hanging off the truck, right? And he pulls back up. Then they start like putting it all back together, and they're doing the whole, this would be like if this was an 80s movie, this would be like the perfect montage scene. Yeah. Toss some like I don't know, some like really 80s-esque music over it. And boom, you've got a great little montage, right? We're hammering, we're soldering, we're welding, like boom, we're done.
Right.
What I did like though at the end of that is that the Mandalorian like offers the Ugnaught Kuil a position like to be a part of his crew.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a crew right now. So like he's literally a loner and he's saying like, I'm willing to take you on, make you a member of my crew. Let's form a crew. I'll pay you well. And I was like, oh, this would be kind of cool. But in like traditional Western fashion, he's just like, no, you freed my village, my town, whatever. That's all I want. Like, I'm not looking for an adventure. I just want to be here.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I was kind of like, it was kind of this kind of cool like moment of character development for the Mandalorian, but also kind of this like really grounded moment. Like, this Ugnaughts not looking for adventure. It's not looking to, as it says, be in servitude to someone else. Like, it just wants to be.
Yep.
I loved that. I thought that was a great story moment.
I did too. I had a feeling he would say no, even though I like the character a lot and is a good companion, I feel like, for the Mandalorian. I was grateful for that moment as well, that he said no, because it made more sense for his character to say no. He's old, right? He's like, I'm old, I'm done. Like,
yep.
I've lived my life. I just want to chill in peace and quiet, and you gave that to me, so I don't need your money, and thank you.
Right, and then the Mandalorian takes off, and Baby Yoda still hasn't woken up, and then finally when he gets all strapped in and gets into space, Baby Yoda wakes up, and then boom, that music hits, and we're off and running to the credits, and once again, like, the music, the second episode in, like, really cemented the music for me. I was just like, oh, this is so good.
Yep.
And I want to watch all the way through the credits, and I want to look at all the artwork, because the artwork is
so
amazing.
Good, man.
So good.
I feel like I have to go back and watch it, but I remember when I was watching it the first time, I remember feeling that we got some more bombastic style Star Wars music at moments in the second episode. I'm trying to recall, kind of when that was, where it felt, more like the horns were involved and it was a full-on orchestra environment.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what part that was at. Anyway, it felt a little bit more in an epic nature in the music this time than it did the first time. Maybe because there was a little more action, a lot more pushing it forward.
Yeah.
I know that in episode 1, we both felt like the pacing was good, but there were some moments where it felt like, not quite there. This episode for me was paced perfectly.
Yeah, I didn't have any problems with pacing.
Not at all. I was completely engaged in every scene, in every bit of dialogue. It was, for me, just, a near perfect 30 minutes of Star Wars.
So let's get your review on the typical, classroom grading scale. How do you grade this episode?
So this is an A for me. Last episode was an A-. This one's an A. I feel like I want to reserve the A+ for something that comes out that just completely blows the roof off of what Star Wars means to us in a good way. But this episode was pretty much perfect for me. I was so enthralled, engaged, the cute little Yoda, and then the heavy story moments and the evaporating Jawas and the insight into the Jawas, because we know that they're these mischievous, silly creatures, but we don't get a whole lot of time with that in like A New Hope, and in this one you get a lot closer of a look. Yeah. And I just thought this episode was almost an A+. I loved it.
I wish I could take like a different opinion here, so like the podcast would feel like there's a little bit of drama here, but I agree, like it was an A.
Yeah.
It improved upon some of the pacing issues I had in the first episode. It didn't have anything that was a glaring weakness in this episode. Even though there was moments, like you said, like the first 10 minutes there was no dialogue, it still was very compelling film. Like it was visually compelling and there was a story being told, just not with dialogue, and that's fine. I mean, we've seen that in movies like Castaway, where there's huge sections without any dialogue, yet the story still propels forward. So I thought it was great through and through. I'm excited to see where we go next, because now we're off planet, and, are we going back to turn in a bounty? Are we taking this Baby Yoda somewhere else? Like, I don't freaking know. And we got to wait a whole week to find out.
That drives me insane, but also makes me feel so good. There's so many places that I feel like this could go, or I want this to go. But the first 2 episodes, they've surprised me. They've challenged kind of what we thought we might get from Star Wars. I know we keep talking about the lack of dialogue in some moments, but that's what I've loved about this. It's suspenseful, and it's so Star Warsy without following the typical Star Wars tropes all the time. And because there's no lightsabers. We're just set in that universe telling a super compelling story. And it's awesome. I don't know where they're going to go next episode. I want to see some space personally. I'd love to see him have to get in a dogfight with a bounty hunter. I would love to, explore something not on the planet at some point during this season. But who knows? We know we're getting at least 2 seasons of this show, so it could go any direction. Right. And I'd be like, yes, please. We still don't know the names of any of these planets. I don't know if we'll ever know the names of any of these planets that we're going to. Which is
almost kind of a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. Because I've grown accustomed to text on the bottom of a screen, right? When I watch an Avengers movie or something, where it gives me the text, or in Rogue One, they give me text.
Right.
Tell me
here's
where
the planet name. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or I'm on, and Solo, same thing. So you kind of get an idea of where you are. But here it's like, I'm totally lost. This is awesome. This feels like the original trilogy, where there's no text on the bottom telling me where I was. I had to pick it up from dialogue. Like, okay, I'm on Tatooine now. Okay, cool. Oh, this is Bespin. Nice. Anyway. Yep. I don't know if we'll figure it out. I hope we get planet names at some point, but
I hope we actually get to see Tatooine, because we're in the Outer Rim. I don't know. I've heard of a name. I've heard of a name of the planet that we were on in the first 2 episodes. I don't know if it's true or not. The name was Arvala 7.
Okay. Where did you hear that?
Wikipedia.
Oh. Usually right.
It's definitely a reputable source. But anyway, I hope we see maybe some familiar locales. Just as not maybe necessarily spend a lot of time there, but just, a little nod here and there to some of the other stuff that's come before it in the universe.
Yeah, I agree. And to me, Tatooine makes some sense. I know we've been there, and we talk about Tatooine as Star Wars people a lot, because that's kind of our first planet as Star Wars people. But it makes some sense. We'll see. With Jabba being there probably at this point in time, and the underbelly and the scum and the villainry that goes on down in Tatooine, it could make sense that this show could take us there at some point.
Yep. Sounds good. All right. Well, that's the Sidekick podcast for episode 2 of The Mandalorian. I have spoken.